Maximizing space, small house extension in your garden. So I'm going to be walking through the process here. You'll get a couple of little glimpses of today's episode. So what I'm basically going to show you is how this all perspired and all the details of getting rid of our old garden shed, which we built about 10 years ago. So we built it and it's been lasting the test of time. You'll see here the garden shed was built in like a frame structure. In this episode, we're going to show you this being taken down. So I've got some builders who are doing a majority of the work here. So they actually did a lot of the heavy lifting, which will help at our age. We don't want to be doing too much physical labor. Where we can, we'll get help. So you'll see the garden is a nice size garden. This was a temporary shed structure which was being used, and it's basically going to get replaced with an extension. So if you're following this series, you'd have seen in episode 1 where I spoke about the plans and what's going on. So here you can see we do a lot of woodworking here. We do it for our Etsy shop. We do a lot of handmade orders, so we needed to have this space, but now we're adjusting this slightly into a more garden room slash office slash utility room. We haven't decided what the end goal is yet. So this is 2024 January 13th I'm doing this, and this is going to be the day 1. So basically the builders helped clear out everything and started dismantling the shed. The shed was made from a timber structure, a 3x2 wood with the slats on the outside. The slats were like garden shed slats, so not like cedar or timber or anything like that, nothing too fancy. I had insulation in between the walls. I had a plastic membrane to stop it getting damp, and on the inside I basically had plywood. There was plywood desks made, tables, workshop tables, and you can see within like 4 hours they were able to take down the entire shed. We used our next door garden neighbor's shed to store this while we did the remainder of the work. The roof had plywood and it had the metal corrugated sheet which you can see being pulled down. So to give you an idea, this is basically removing this temporary structure. We've got planning permission and we've got a wide structure. 3 meters by just over 6 meters is the final dimensions of the extension that's going to be put here. We're going to be going through steps of showing you each section. So the foundation being dug up, the foundation being poured, and as we go through the journey I'll give you an idea of what to expect. I'll also speak a little bit about the process of getting an application in, as well as the builders, and going through this step by step. So because we're getting this in our quote, we had an original price, and I basically brought the builders around. I said, this is what I need doing. I want you to take down the shed. I want you to clear everything up and have a full made structure there. So I'll involve extra elements in this to show the types of questions you should be asking builders. So in later episodes I'll give you that. You'll see it still stands strong. So the wall in the back was built halfway up, and then it had the timber structure sitting on it, and it was screwed onto that. So this would be the back facing wall. There's extra timbers you can see holding them in place, and the plywoods inside had extra insulation behind it. So that was like the insulation you would normally put in lofts. So then behind that was the plastic sheeting, and behind the plastic sheeting was the slats on the outside. So you can see here the structure itself has got uprights, and we've got timbers inside the building, and this plastic sheet basically helped. So you can see there's not a lot of damage here. For 10 years it's actually done quite well. It stood the test of time with multiple rains and snows. So as time goes on, you can see that this is going to be interesting concept, especially if you want to add some extra rooms or extensions or utility rooms towards your house. It did have to go through a full planning application as it was exceeding the permitted developments, but being able to remove the shed now will allow us to have an extra room basically. So we have an extra room, utility room outside, and you can see the shed being taken apart here. I've got sections of time lapse, and I've gone around with the phone, just taken a few clips just to share this with you, because it's always interesting to see these stories come into play and how long this type of process can take. So on day 1 they were able to remove the entire shed. This is quite a big shed. So each plywood is 4 foot long, and there was 4 4-foot plywoods on the floor as a base and 4 on the roof. So that's already 4, 4, 8, 16 foot basically is how long this shed was. And they've taken each panel off and removed the panels. When we originally made it, we used screws, so that helped us to take it down, because all you did was unscrew it and remove it. If you use nails, there would have been a little bit more damage and a little more work to remove these panels as they were. So you can see here they were able to remove each panel individually. So it's basically 2 large panels which are made up of 2 full plywood sheets, and then we put them in our neighbor's garden, asked their permission, and we used the bottom of their garden. So thank you for allowing us to put these things in your garden. These are the timbers that we used, and they're still in good condition. They can still be used. These are the inner panels which had the plastic sheeting applied, and then the slats on the outside, and you can see this is the inside view of that. So as each piece is coming off, we're basically removing these. We're going to remove the base, and then in a future episode you'll see me working on the foundations. So the builders are going to be digging the holes. We're going to be planning the visit, because what happens is an inspector comes and checks when they do the foundations. So I'll see how much of that I can record, and I want this to be a diary just so that we can see this back and see how it does. I wanted to plan originally to record us building the shed, but at the time it didn't cross my mind to record it. So I think that would have been a good video for you to see how we made this shed, because it was very robust. It was made because we made it for ourselves, we made sure it's extra strong and it would withstand time, which it has done, because 10 years later it's still solid. I could easily see it lasting another 20 years here. You can even see when they tried to take it off, we had plugs and screws in the wall, and the wood didn't come off, but the brick broke. So we did a good job originally putting it on. So the floors, again, on a timber frame, there was plastic sheeting below it, and this is the floor lifted up, so you can see there's a little bit of moisture there, but the frame still seems fine. It didn't rot out. We used treated wood for the floors and most of the timbers, if I recall correctly. So you can see this is the sections coming out and moving along. And then there was a little bit of a wall that we built in the back within our garden. There's actually a wall that goes all the way around the garden, and we had that there just to avoid any, because in this area we live in, there's quite pest prone, so there's a lot of rats. They normally tend to dig up, so having this wall around the perimeter of the garden, even a small double bricked wall, stops the rats basically coming into the garden. You can see it was all the way around the garden. They're just breaking this off now, and it's quite a nice way of keeping your garden nice and clean. So this is going to be a section just to show the garden being cleaned up. So if you're following along on this series, you'll see how this progresses and how well it comes on over time. I will be providing a resources section for this, so if you're planning to do an extension, I might provide some information for you to kind of what to keep an eye out for, what to ask the builders, what to ask the architects. But if you listen to episode 1 of this series, you'll know all of that based on that. So all the bricks are being cleaned up. We're basically getting everything ready here for the next step, which would be the foundations. I'm thinking of making that into a separate video, so check the sections on screen. You'll see the next episode in this series of building our maximizing space small house extension in your garden. See you on the next video.